hugely overrated.
Not funny. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Not funny.
Not funny. This is the intro. Welcome to this new Red Blue podcast. Sorry I caught you off, Paul. This is the intro. And how are you, Paul? Paul is.
I'm good. I'm good.
That's good.
Yeah.
What about you, Cole?
Pretty good.
This is amazing. I am doing good as well. I am very excited about tonight because I think if we are lucky, we will have a quite big panel because like the link has been sent to a bunch of people. I don't know if everyone will join, but hopefully we will have a big crowd. So you kind of started saying something before the intro cut you off, Paul. So I will let you start to say what you tried to say.
I was talking about I was actually talking about what we're talking about on stream. So you might want to introduce the topics first, and then I'll talk about the movies because that's what I was about to say. I was about to give my takes on those two movies prior to stream. So yeah.
Okay, well, because this is your first time around, before we talk about Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther, I want to hear your thoughts on the MCU up to that point, without really going too deep into like any movie that comes after. So that includes like Infinity War, Ant-Man #2, because I pretend Wasp doesn't exist. So yeah, so Paul, what did you think of the MCU?
Well, I'm just looking up. So before Black Panther was Civil War, correct, Cole?
It was Ragnarok.
Yes.
Was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
And then no. Ragnarok was before Infinity War. Yeah, Civil War, and then it was Black Panther because Civil War introduced Black Panther. That's right. I was hyped for the MCU back then. Civil War, coming off the back of Civil War, which I thought, like, obviously it's not really a Captain America film. It's a Avengers film, Avengers light film. Even so, watching Black Panther in that film hyped me because I was hyped for Black Panther in general because I watched him in animated shows and I'd read a couple of comics. So I was pretty hyped. And then Civil War put me over the edge. Let's remember that fight choreography between him and Winter Soldier on the rooftop. And just his directness. Like, do you really think you can keep me from him? Like, and stuff like that. I really liked his story in Civil War too. He had a revenge plot. And at the end, as we know, like he realizes that revenge had consumed Zemo, but it wouldn't consume him anymore. And he saw what was happening between Iron Man and Captain America 2 as well. So he gave that up. So I was pretty hyped coming into Black Panther. The trailers, I was hyped with the trailers. The trailers made the movie look good. So it was like good visually, good special effects wise, good stunt wise. The story looked good. And I was excited to see Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. So he seemed compelling. And so, yeah, going into Black Panther, I was really excited for this film.
This is really cool. So, now we had a in-depth discussion at past stream. Do you remember quite well Spider-Man Homecoming?
Me?
Yes.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that movie. Yeah.
Okay, well, I will ask you, what would be the themes of Homecoming if there is any you could see?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
If you remember well, Homecoming, do you remember any themes that were addressed in the movie?
Oh, themes. Yeah, Homecoming was kind of like he he wanted to be like live. I guess Homecoming was like him trying to live up to what Iron Man made him in Civil War. Like he was trying to like be, his like basically his protege or whatever. Like, and he was like, I'm trying to protect my neighborhood. I'm trying to do all these things. And as far as I could like remember from that film, that was his like big theme, is that he was trying to live up to what Iron Man placed on his shoulders in Civil War.
That's interesting. I like that perspective. You make good points, and I don't remember anyone addressing it, but that's true. Like I wow, I'm surprised. You surprised me with that answer. That's nice. Anyway, um, so um, now we are there. I don't really ask Cole about the MCU because he already told many times his thoughts on the MCU up to that point. So, Thor Ragnarok, the first thing we covered today. Um, is it the one you think is very overrated, Paul?
No, I don't think Ragnarok is overrated. I think that a lot of people, I think it's weirdly placed in the MCU. I feel like it's a buddy cop comedy that they put right before a disaster movie. Um, and that's
Which
like, I think that's
disaster? What
Infinity
does it?
War is a disaster movie. Like it's like basically everyone gets killed in that movie. Well, there's a huge mass load of MCU characters that get wiped out at the end of that film. It's a very serious toned film. I mean, the start of it, you have Thanos beating the crap out of Hulk, showing you that he's like all powerful, right? He
Yeah,
kills Loki right at the start of the like actually kills him.
yeah.
And when that we know now, no, he doesn't really, because we can't kill Loki. He's bread and butter for, well, he's not really. He's what they rely on for their for their money these days. But like that aside, in that time of the MCU, they obliterated him for real at the start of that film. Choked him out in front of Thor. They killed Heimdall. They wiped out most of Thor's people. They blasted Thor into space, and they bashed Hulk. So like it was a very serious tone film right from the beginning, whereas Ragnarok is like a buddy cop comedy, like in the vein of Lethal Weapon. It's like so it's a very weirdly placed movie. But having watched it, I do have a retrospective on that, because when I first watched it, I was entertained by it, but I felt it was when I watched Infinity War, I was like, this is a weird placed movie, like in retrospective. But now after watching it, I watched it solo last year again, like out of context with the rest of the MCU. Just watched it randomly with a friend, and I found myself enjoying it a lot more than what I did when I first watched it, because I feel like also my cynic hat was off. But um, yeah, I just enjoyed it for what it was, which was a buddy cop movie. So I think I think people underrate that film now. Because I think because of where it was placed in the MCU, I think a lot of people have that perspective of it now, where it's like, oh, they made a comedy right before everyone dies. And it's like, yeah, and I had that kind of perspective as well. Like I was like, yeah, they made a comedy right before everyone dies, and they make a comedy out of like, there's things that I disagree with in that film. Like they make a comedy out of like his homeland being destroyed. Like they have like, it's like Taika Waititi's humor of like making fun of every single thing, and it's not necessary in a lot of films, which we get more of in that god awful fourth Thor film. But but yeah, in Ragnarok, he can't. There's things that I do disagree with in that film. I think it's stupid. Like they end it on a joke. They end, oh, the foundations are strong. Nope, it's gone. Like, and it's like that's he's like crying over his homeland, and we're gonna make a joke out of it. It's like, no, they were trying to stop this the whole time. So there's comedic timing errors in that film. Like if I like, but I think that overall, I think a lot of people don't like it, particularly because of the context of when it came out. Because we have this film, and then the next film, like the trailer is, I am inevitable, and like he's destroying everything, and you're like, this is weird. Like, this is a weird tonal shift. Like, right up. Like, and if you're watching them, if you're binging them, it's even worse. Because it's like you watch Ragnarok and immediately go into Infinity War and everyone dies. Yeah. So yeah. That's my thoughts on Ragnarok.
I get it. I get your point, but that's funny because it's not really right after. But I get that feeling. Like if I do think Black Panther was before Infinity War, because I know Infinity War is um is not next
Well,
week, but like in the
it
next
was
stream we cover
Infinity
MCU.
War. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely before Infinity War.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome, Bradley. How are you, Bradley?
What's up, guys? I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to see you. Welcome. So we talked a lot over Joker's Corner. You're very entertaining. I'm glad to have you on. It's your first time on my podcast, and
Yes.
we are talking MCU. So this means I will ask you, what did you think of the MCU up to that point, up to Ragnarok and Black Panther? We don't really dive deep into what happens next because this is for future stream. So just let us know, what did you think of like anything that came before these two movies we covered today?
Yeah, I love the MCU before that. Before the like pinnacle of the Infinity War and Endgame. You know, I think that was probably the most exciting time to be an MCU fan. It's just like getting closer and closer and closer to Infinity War, seeing this culmination of all the films and all these characters and all these storylines built up to that one moment for Thanos. And it was exciting. It was very exciting to be an MCU fan. I loved pretty much all of it. There's some like Iron Man 3, you know, I really don't care for. There's some other ones I really don't care for either. Captain America 1, probably. I think it's a good film, but I think favorites, I mean, obviously the favorites would be Iron Man 1. I even like the first Thor a lot. I think the first Thor is pretty underrated, and not a lot of people give it love.
I'm with you, but keep going.
It's a great movie. No, you're fine. I think that is really a great film and is very underlooked when it comes to like retrospectives of the MCU. But yeah, it was a great time to be a fan. And I was looking forward to Black Panther and not really so much Ragnarok, because I think the first Thor film is where I stop liking Thor in the MCU. After that, they really don't do anything with him that's interesting, aside from raping his character.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Not wrong.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, I just realized I forgot to ask Blender. Then I will ask you, Bradley. So, Paul, what would be your favorite MCU movie before Thor, Ragnarok, and Black Panther?
Ooh. It's gonna be. It's gonna be. It's hard because it's. That's really hard. But I have to say, I always go off rewatchability for myself. If I'm going to watch an MCU film, what movie am I going to watch? Like, if out of the all of them that there are, and it's going to be Guardians 1. Like, that's my favorite MCU film. That's my favorite team in the MCU. If I go with my heart, that's what I go with. If I go with my head, it's going to be Winter Soldier, because that movie is a phenomenal spy thriller action film. Like, that movie, in my mind, is almost probably the most perfect MCU film. Like, so yeah, like as in perfectly filmed, perfectly, like the stunts are perfect, like the choreography is perfect, the story is like there's, I don't find a lot of failings in Winter Soldier, but yeah, Guardians are definitely my favorite characters in the MCU. So Guardians 1's my favorite MCU film.
And what would be your least favorite up to that point?
That's harder. But if I'm going to say, it's probably Iron Man 3, because I was so disappointed in that film. it's half a good film. You're watching it, and then halfway through, it just decides to drive into a wall at like maximum speed, and it just falls off and fails. Iron Man 3 I haven't watched again until I haven't actually watched it again. I've seen it twice maybe out of all of them. But yeah, it's only because someone else put it on one time, so I was sitting watching it. I've seen it once at the cinema and then once because I was forced to.
Because I was forced to. It's like torture or something.
I hate that movie. I really do hate that film because Iron Man was like a pinnacle. I watched that 6 times at the cinema. It's my most watched MCU film at the cinema, Iron Man 1.
I cannot blame you. I like it so much. It's up to that point, it's my favorite MCU. And I may have a hot take, but my second favorite is Doctor Strange. But
that's
good choice.
Not a bad choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I will ask Bradley, what would be your favorite MCU movie up to that point?
I mean, I think, like Paul said, like Iron Man 1, Winter Soldier, Guardians 1 are all great. But I think my favorite, and I do love Doctor Strange too. I think Doctor Strange would probably be on my favorite list too. But my favorite, the one I saw most, I have a lot of issues with it, but I still quite enjoy it. And that'll probably be Civil War. I think Civil War would probably be my favorite MCU film.
Nice.
Really, not Thor
That's
1.
cool.
I do love Thor 1 a lot, but I'm like a classic like team up. I like classic team ups like that. Even though I have a lot of problems with it in the third act, I don't know. There's just something about that movie. Like every time I watch it, like I'm like, I know I have problems with this stuff here and there, but I enjoy that movie every time I watch it.
I think that's what matters the most. What would be your least favorite MCU movie up to that point?
I think probably Guardians 2. Or Iron Man 3. But Iron Man 3 more than Guardians 2, because I quite enjoy some parts of Guardians 2.
Really? That's surprising. I ate the guts of Guardian 2. Like, I've rewatched it, and I'm like, why did I put myself through it again?
A criminally misunderstood film, but anyway.
I think there's some pretty great moments.
My humble opinion is that is criminally misunderstood, that film.
Guardians 2, you said?
Yeah, I think that is criminally misunderstood.
Yeah, I think it is sort of too. I mean, there were things that I think they did butcher with the characters and just decisions in the stories I wish they did with like Drax, and that they did later on in 3 that they should have done in 2, and then did different shit. I also don't like the new Groot in that, but as just a film though, like purely filmmaking, acting, everything else, it is a well-made film still.
Oh yeah, it's very well made. And I would rather watch that than Iron Man 3. But yeah, Iron Man 3 would be my least favorite. That period.
Damn. I also think it's underrated a bit. Yeah, as a film, it's great. I'm sure, like as an MCU film and everything, it isn't. But
see, the only part of Iron Man 3 I like is when his house gets blown up. That's it.
That's the cool part.
That is a cool. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm no longer the only one on cam. Thank you. You're amazing. You're amazing. I already adore you. Anyway, so that's surprising. That Guardian 2 is not that often defended. That's surprising. I got to say.
I'll defend that movie. I'll defend it. I've defended it to many people in the past. Yeah, I think it's misunderstood, that film.
That's cool. Now I will ask Bradley the same question I did to Paul just before we let Paul talk about Ragnarok. So Bradley, do you remember very well Homecoming?
Yeah, it's my favorite Spider-Man film of the trilogy.
Oh, that's cool to hear. Now I gotta ask you the second question. Do you remember very well any themes or ideas the movie had? What was the intent of it and the story beats for the characters of Tony and Peter, if you remember well?
Well, it's Peter trying to live up to Tony, and he wants to be an Avenger, so it's very much about growing up and maturing, and Tony kind of like giving him that reality check when when they're on the rooftop, and he takes away the suit. That's a great moment, and that's kind of like teaching. It's like humbling Peter. It's like, hey, be humbled, and if you can't. I love this line in the film. If you can't do anything without the suit, then you don't deserve the suit. Or I forgot the exact line, but he says something like that. But I love that line, and I love that moment. And I love the themes throughout Homecoming. It's the best Spider-Man film out of that trilogy. No Way Home is shit, and so is Far From Home. But Far From Home is much more interesting than No Way Home to me.
That's interesting.
I disagree. But
I don't have an opinion because I will tell the backstory I keep telling each time it's mentioned. So No Way Home, I did see parts of it once. I went at one of my friends' place, and we drank a lot, and we did put on the movie. And I've seen the first half an hour. I passed out, and I woke up in the last half an hour when I had like three Peters talking to each other. I was like, "What in the hell happened there?" And I'm actually excited to see the movie from start to finish once we get there with that retrospective. But man,
I mean, look, there are stupid story, character, plot hole things throughout. Like, there's no denying that. But my thing, though, is that so do most MCU films and the other Spider-Man films, and like just as many. At least that one gave us some incredible, epic fan moments and everything. But also as a film, it was a big improvement to me. Like the direction, for example, and the camera work and cinematography. In Homecoming and Far From Home, so amateur and close up, and in No Way Home, they completely improved on that a lot.
I'm really looking forward, even if I know it's very mixed because I've heard a lot of bad and a lot of good, but I feel like after hearing both of you coming here, I think now it's more bad than good, but I'm still excited about it,
No,
There's one
Be
thing.
excited.
oh,
Like,
don't. Yeah,
There might be great moments in it, and like there's some like cool fan moments and stuff. But when your film does not hold up to when it came out and released to the point like where it's edited to be silent for people to cheer, that's fucking cringe.
Oh,
That's
really? That's
Yeah,
that. Oh,
that's like almost every MCU film though nowadays. It's an issue with all of them. That's the thing.
And it's all cringe as fuck. It's cringe.
I'm glad
Yeah.
I haven't really caught up. So my history after Endgame, I've seen Far From Home, I've seen the Marvels, Guardian 3, and I've seen some of the shows like Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
These are the
Yeah,
three.
they have just many moments in all of them where they just dead silence for people to laugh, and it's
Wow.
stupid.
yeah, it's like
Yeah,
comedies. It's kind of like the laugh track, but without the laugh track in a sitcom. Like it's like they have that
pretty
part where
much.
they have the laugh track for you to laugh along with the audience, but they minus that out of the movie, so there's just
but I mean
silence.
that's why they're just
you to cheer,
objectively
right?
flawed films, the MCU, because they're not trying to make art; they're more so just trying to make like stand-up comedy flicks.
Yeah, well,
And my
that
biggest-
and they're just fan film like fanfics. But I do agree, like Cole's right. The difference between Far From Home and No Way Home and the cinematography alone is outrageous. Like I don't know, Cole better say whoever directed Far From Home. And like whoever wrote it, even worse. It Far From Home. Well, he learnt a lot. That's good because Far From Home is by far the worst. It's worse than Spider-Man 3. It is absolutely. It is
Spider-Man
absolutely,
3 isn't bad.
I'm even more hyped
yeah,
now.
retrospectively, I agree with you, Bradley. There are parts of Spider-Man 3 that I really hate. Like Venom is my favorite character, and they screw him. But if we take him out of the film, that opening sequence between him and Hobgoblin, or whatever their version of Hobgoblin is, that's one of the greatest. That's one of the most fantastic Spider-Man fight scenes ever. When he's like flying around, shooting like web bullets at him and stuff. Like it was like, this is great, but. I hate that film. I hate Far From Home. Like it's almost like on par with how much I hate Iron Man 3. Like,
Wow.
but yeah, like it's like my second like most hated MCU film. I think it is unnecessary. It is stupid. And again, we'll talk about it later because we're going to talk about Black Panther.
Yeah.
Again, it's where a villain outshines both in acting caliber and also in just being more interesting than the main character. And I feel like when a villain is more interesting than the main character and you want to see more of the villain, you're not really telling a good story of the main character. Like, I think it should be equal, or the protagonist has to be a little bit, you have to root for the protagonist. But I find myself rooting for Mysterio in that film because Jake Gyllenhaal is just more charismatic on screen. Like, and he has more things to do, and he isn't being an idiot like half the time. Like Far From Home, I don't want to get too much into this, but like Iron Man giving a teenage kid a weaponized satellite device is one of the stupidest plots ever created by the MCU. A grown man who knows what weaponized like military hardware does, like Iron Man, he learns this, right? He learns what it's wrong, what happens in the wrong hands of the wrong people, but he gives a weaponized satellite device to a child, like who almost blows up a bus for comedy purpose. This is where we're at in Far From Home. I hate that film. That's it. That's all I have to say.
It'll be there probably before the end of the season, I think. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Maybe start of next season, actually. I can't remember how it ordered, but I know we finished this season with Infinity War. So actually, it's next season we will have Far From Home.
Of course, you finished it with the snap. Perfect.
Yeah. I gotta say, I almost forgot. I also have seen Wakanda Forever. I always want to forget I've seen that shit. Eventually, we will cover it again, but I already shared my thoughts. Cole also shared his thoughts, so we will try to add.
Yeah, it's the first film for him that went in the negatives, but yeah.
So once we get back there, hopefully we get a bunch of guests. I won't put people through it again. Sure. I won't watch it again.
I'll roast it to shit. Don't worry. But yeah, good lord.
To give you an idea.
Anyway, Ragnarok.
My rant about this movie lasted 40 minutes. I'm not joking. It's just a never-ending thread of like BS. Anyway, to get back on topic, we already got Paul thoughts on Ragnarok, so let's have Bradley thoughts on Ragnarok. What did you think of Ragnarok?
I think Thor Ragnarok is a character assassination film. Has no respect for itself, and it's a complete joke of a film. It shouldn't even be called a film. It's not even a film. It's a piece of shit. I hate this movie. I will always hate this movie. I will never watch it ever again in my life. And yeah, I blame it for all the reasons that Hulk and Thor are complete jokes. They were complete jokes before this, granted in certain ways, but this movie just completely was just like, fuck these characters. Taika Waititi has no idea how to write a Thor film, a superhero film, but he can write other films, just not superhero films. I think he buckles under the pressure of being under Marvel and having these big budgets, and he has no idea what to do, and he loses his goddamn mind, and he does a bunch of drugs, and he drinks a bunch of alcohol, and he just throws a bunch of ideas together. I don't think he knew what he was doing with these movies at all. Granted, if I'm talking about Ragnarok in aspects of would I rather watch it over Thor: Love and Thunder, absolutely, because Thor: Love and Thunder is worse. Thor: Love and Thunder actually made me appreciate some things in Ragnarok, but there's some cool scenes with Hela. I think Hela is probably the best part of it. Kate Blanchett is always amazing. Can never go wrong. Can never go wrong with her. But other than that, yeah, Hulk in it is shit. Thor's in it. He's trash. Taika Waititi's character isn't funny at all. And neither is that bug. I don't know what the hell it's called. And neither is Razor Face or Taser Face or Titty Face. I don't know what his name is. That isn't funny either. None of it's funny. It's all bad. It's all shit.
You just deleted me, bro. That's what I heard when I wasn't distracted by something else. That was golden. I gotta say that was golden. Like you phrase it in a better way I ever could. I'm speechless. Do you want to add something on that?
Do I want to add something on it?
Yeah, do you want to add more? Because that's amazing.
I mean, I could, but
go for it.
I don't want to make.
Don't be shy.
You might see in the headline that Taika Waititi killed himself tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. That's not good then.
In Minecraft.
Oh, okay. In Minecraft. Okay. Cool. What did you think of that masterpiece? Ragnarok.
Okay, well, with Taika Waititi, I have enjoyed the majority of his films that he's made, but I also think none of them are amazing or anything. I do think he's a bit overrated as a filmmaker. He kind of just copies a lot of better filmmakers and tries to mimic their style, like Wes Anderson and other people. So yeah, going into this and other films, I wasn't the most excited, and because I didn't like the other Thor films much, but I kind of enjoyed this. I didn't think it was too bad at all. I don't think it's great either, and I do think it's overrated in the sense that a lot of people have tried to really praise this film, sort of in the same way of some of the MCU Spider-Man films, saying this is how you do Thor. This is also comic accurate, which is bullshit. And even though I don't even read the comics much at all, and just other things, just because they weren't a fan of the generic kind of style of the other two, and just because it's all comedic and lighthearted. But it was still kind of a change of pace it needed, and I thought the film, how it's made, was mostly done well. I do like the acting in it for the most part. I do like the chemistry with all the characters, and with Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth, which is why I was kind of shocked how bad Men in Black International was. But it was solid for the most part. I did like the villain and everything, even if, from what I read, wasn't really comic accurate either with certain things they did. But yeah, I don't really care as much about the comics. So yeah, I mean, it's an alright film, but it also did some really stupid things as well, and yeah, had some bad humor and other moments I did not enjoy as much at all. But I don't think it's too bad of a film at all. I think it's all right. I think it was Love and Thunder when he then went overboard, and it was just terrible experience for the most part. So yeah.
God damn, I gotta say something. Cool. I think that's our biggest panel since the Barbie stream last year.
Jesus Christ.
Thank you, everyone, for being there. That's wow. That's amazing. Cole, do you want to add more before I pass on the mic to Chillmonger? I guess Cole doesn't.
No, that's about it. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chill. How are you, Chill?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourselves?
I'm doing good, and I think the guys are also doing pretty well based on what I've heard, right? I think, yeah. He confirms. Paul confirms we see his and moving.
Yes.
Thank you, Austin, as well. So yeah, Chillmonger, what did you think of Ragnarok?
I can tell you, I remember how I felt afterwards, and that's something that Triple H, the wrestler, says. They might not remember what exactly the moves you did, but they'll remember how you feel. And yeah, the feeling that coming out of that movie theater was like, again, like this company's still like they kick ass. I felt like I could like run, climb a mountain, and feel like, oh my god, this was an amazing feat, right? They managed to connect what Hulk has been up to, with his escape from Age of Ultron in the what's the Quinjet,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
Quinjet.
wow,
Yeah.
they piece things together, and now this will have to do with Infinity War because there's a brand new ship and I knew it was Thanos' ship. I was loving it. It was such a continuity win, because the way it began and the way it ended was Marvel. Now everything that happened in between, anything could have happened. I didn't expect Asgard to fall, but Asgard fell. Anything could have happened in between, right? Just the book ending was such an amazing stuff, and it was entertaining. It was a lot, very much jokes. I remember one of the jokes Chris Hemsworth said it was coming from a boy who was sick, and this kid said, "You should say that Hulk is a friend from work." What a genius line, right? And they took that and they used it. I was new to this whole Taika Waititi experience. Now I kind of know what to expect from him. And he went off the deep end with Love and Thunder. Still fine with the movie, but what his Ragnarok style that he brought, like, it was great. The visual effects of like score. What's the red fire monster thing? That was amazing.
Suture, I think.
Suture,
Suture,
him.
yeah, I think.
Hela was a good devious villain. It tied in with Odin's past. Everything felt right in that movie. One of the best movies that Marvel's put out.
Oh, that's interesting. I like
What?
your perspective. We do not sound like an echo chamber. We have mixed feeling about this movie. That's amazing. That was the point of having so many guests to talk about movies. Now I gotta say, you're not the only one that enjoyed it. I will say I'm right in between everyone. So you seem like you really enjoyed it, Chill. And I think you're the first positive voice so far. I think I will be the second. I still have a few issues. I don't think this movie is perfect by any means. I do think the first Thor was better than this. Shocker. But I still enjoyed parts of it. So I have 6 issues, but half of them are the same thing, and that's a meme in the intro. We got a bunch of not funny. And we got like Graves saying "shut up." So in many instances, early in the movie, it tried really hard to be funny when it wasn't. Another not funny, still early in the movie. More unfunny humor with the trader scene. I think that was the taser shenanigans guy.
What do you have
I
against laughing?
when it's not good, it's
Wait,
not
what are you
good.
reading that on? Is that off like Rotten Tomatoes? Like, are you reading comments?
No, it's my notes.
Oh,
I did,
your
yeah,
notes,
my
right? Yeah.
notes, because
Okay.
I do rewatch everything, or I do watch
Oh,
everything depending on the case. This time around, it's my second viewing of the movie. I think I know it's my second, but maybe it's my third. I'm not quite sure on how many times I've seen it. I remember seeing it for my big marathon I did before Endgame. Uh, After that, I don't think I've seen it again. So I'm pretty sure it's actually my second viewing. So I did take notes on my second viewing. Um, my next issue with this movie, telling instead of showing how Odin traded his empire out of blood, that's what they're hinting at. That could have been cool to have just one scene where Odin and his men are slaughtering people, but maybe it's too dark for MCU stuff. I don't know. But that could be better than just, oh, Odin did that in the past. That's how they kind of tell you that Odin created Asgard in a kind of wrong way. They could have showed us instead of telling. Um, Next up would be plot convenience, opening Black Widow message by accident. And I get it, that's to make Hulk revert back to Bruce. But it's still like, what if it doesn't happen? Hulk remains. It's I don't like when they do stuff by accident to trigger the plot. It doesn't feel right. Um, I get what they were trying to do, but I feel like they should have worked more on how that would have happened, or I don't know. I don't know how you could fix that issue, but for me, that's an issue. Um, Next up would be the slave joke was pathetic attempt at humor, and that was kind of late in the movie. Um, but again, I will second someone word saying Taika Waititi character was kind of bad. Korg, um, I didn't like Korg at all. Like why? Anyway, enough of the negative stuff because I said I enjoyed it.
You're
Um,
saying, listen to what you're saying. I don't like Scourge, right? How much
Scourge.
screen time did you really have? How important to the plot was he?
It was in the background.
Yeah, he was a couple of jokes. Like
Yeah.
he was a couple of jokes of the movie. Like he joked about the hammer, which I found to be funny. I thought that part where he was like, "Seems like you have a really strong connection to this hammer." Like it was like the writers were like hanging a lantern, like for the audience, going, "Yes, he does have a strong connection to that hammer because we saw what he went through in Thor when he lost it." Like, and he got it back because it means that he's worthy, and they follow that pathway through, even though we have that god awful second movie. They follow that pathway through in Endgame when he goes back and he calls for his hammer in front of his mother, and he realizes he's still worthy. Like they do that through line that Myrmit is like important to him, like and they go overboard with it in Love and Thunder, but like yeah, Korg has comedic lines where he adds stuff comedy into the film. He's a comedic like relief, but he's not the central plot of that movie. The central plot is a family. It's Hera, Loki, and Thor. That's what the central plot is about. And yeah, and come on, there's some hilarious moments on that when he's like, "We're gonna go through Satan's Adus." Like there's some really funny like moments in that film when they like when he hits the button and it's the oil. It's my birth. That is. And can we talk about why do I always forget the actor's name? And it's really poor sacrilegious that I feel that. Who plays the Grand Master?
Oh, Jeff Goldblum.
Dude, he's hilarious in this movie. He's so funny. Like
he was perfect casting.
He was so funny in this film. Like there is a lot of comedy in this film that is varying. There's stupid comedy from Korg, but there's some really funny comedy from the other characters. That part where like they stand together and he's like they're talking and Bruce is like, "Can we really trust him? Like he was trying to destroy the earth." And he's like, "Yeah, well, I know what you mean." And he tells the story about how like when they were children, and he's like, he knew how I love snakes. And then like I picked up the snake. He stabbed me, and he went, and he scared me. That was funny. That was a funny story. Like it was like Loki
even
being
the
a trickster when he was a boy.
Of, Doctor Strange and Thor was pretty funny because Thor is like, "Who the hell is this Earth magician filling up my beer?" You know, like.
Yes, yeah. He kept teleporting him around like his sanctum.
Like I'm the one who's supposed to have these kind of powerful power. What's going on here?
And then he brings back Loki. He's like, "I have been falling
for 30 minutes."
that was pretty.
It's hilarious. There's some funny stuff in that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that
I think it's hit or miss and stuff. Yeah, I agree. I like a lot of the things that they did. I think the humor is probably the most. I agree, like hit or miss. There's some really funny moments. There's some really stupid moments. I'm after Hulk's introduction in the arena, I think the character kind of goes down a little bit until the end. Kind of all the middle stuff. I think with Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is not very interesting, and that's where it gets a little silly. You have naked Hulk walking out of the hot tub and all that type of stuff, and but for the most part, I think this was kind of the direction that I want to say Thor needed, but Marvel had to do something with Thor. In other words, I'm not blaming Marvel for doing something like this because after the Dark World, there was a lot of that was like the first Marvel movie that was like not a big critical hit and not a bit, all this that was like people were kind of on and off. So they wanted to try and get Thor back on track. I think the balance of
They
Ragnarok
failed.
is far better. Oh, they absolutely did not fail. Now
They did fail.
That's not true at all.
They did fail.
So Thor Ragnarok failed? No, it did not. It
They
was
failed
a
at
huge
getting the
movie.
character back on track because we have fucking Love and Thunder after it.
Well, it doesn't matter. It did not fail.
doesn't
It
matter.
got everybody set up for.
We didn't have
War.
Love of Thunder. We had Infinity War.
It was a massive. It was a
Infinity
massive
War.
hit. Ragnarok was a massive hit.
And he's not the same
Marvel.
character he is in Ragnarok and Infinity War. He's a completely different character.
It doesn't matter, but that you still can't call it a failure. That's just.
To me,
sorry,
it was a
that's just
failure
wrong.
on getting him back on track. It was. To me, it was.
But
Well, at
overall,
the
no, I
time it
thought.
did, didn't it?
I agree, Cole. Was
Yeah,
Dark World. Everyone hated that movie.
Exactly.
That was
It did
universally
World was
Thor
shit
back in
too.
track.
Yeah,
It
that was
absolutely did
universally
get Thor
hated.
back on- And then
Yeah.
honestly, after
Nothing will
Ragnarok,
top
my
the first
favorite.
film. The first film is the most comic accurate version.
Yeah,
of that
I
character.
agree with
It
that,
works.
Bradley.
It
completely
works
agree
in
with
every
that.
way, and they ruined it in the Dark World, and they ruined it in Ragnarok.
Pretty average at the time, though. It was not considered that great. Nobody really liked the.
Oh
fish
well,
out of
that's the
water.
same.
Well, I know,
Cole,
because
they were still
people-
building. Like the only movie that really was big back in the MCU. This is people forget this. The only big movie in the first MCU movies was Iron Man. Captain America didn't make a lot of money. Thor didn't make a lot of money. Hulk, Incredible Hulk didn't make a lot of money. That's what they were working with, and then they had to recast Hulk for the Avengers. Because Edward Norton was an idiot. So we missed out on Edward Norton because he's an idiot, but that's another thing altogether. But then they had the Avengers, which put the MCU on the map. And then I still remember these fools at the end of the movie when they had the cutscene at the end, right? And they had, the Avengers Initiative. I knew what that was because I read comics. Everyone's going, oh yeah. And then they see Thanos at the end. They're like, I know who that guy is. I'm like, I actually know who that guy is. I know what they're doing here. I know what's coming. I read Infinity War. I remember that's what Avengers put it on the map. But that's when, and they did have, they had the one before that. But then they followed up with Dark World, and they had to do something to save him, and the way they saved him is they did the buddy cop comedy route. That's what they did. They were like, because they had that,
they finally killed off the supporting characters.
Because don't forget that Ragnarok preceded by Ragnarok was Age of Ultron, which also was universally received because it was basically a repeat of Avengers.
By Dark World, you mean?
Yeah, so Dark World happened after Ragnarok, after Ultron.
Right.
No.
That was before.
Yeah, Dark World.
Age of Ultron is 2015.
Dark World, and then Ragnarok was after. That's what I'm saying. Ragnarok was after Ultron because they're on the Hulk's off. They fell into Satan's anus or whatever and ended up on that planet. But I think they had to do something, so they did the buddy cop route. I think the buddy cop route works in the context of Thor. Like I said at the beginning, I don't think it works in the context of the MCU because right afterwards we have everyone dies movie. It's immediately after this buddy cop comedy, we have Loki getting choked out, Thor being beat the shit out of him, and then Thanos blowing up the rest of his people. It's like, oh yeah, they did all this stuff in Ragnarok to save its people. Asgard, it's its people. Bye. Asgard doesn't exist anymore in Infinity War. That's what they went from that to that, and that's why it doesn't work in the context of the MCU. But as a singular buddy cop film, I think that's where it works. It works in that way. And I think they revived Thor in that. And I think that he is a lot like his character in Infinity War. He still makes jokes, but he's also gone through a massive change. He goes through saving his people to watching them all get slaughtered. So of course he's going to be way more serious in Infinity War. By the way, that's the best Thor that we ever got. That's my statement on Thor. He's my favorite Avenger. So yes.
I gotta say, you make very valid points, and I will admit to something. Most of my issues were the humor, but it's also in my likes because some of the humor did work. I feel like more humor failed than worked, but it's still worth mentioning that some of the humor did work. Um, Now, the other thing is the action, the lore. That was very enjoyable. That was other stuff I liked. That's why I think I'm right in between everyone there. The idea of Ella being a relic of the past was very enjoyable. Um, yeah, Thor realizing that the people count more than the place was cool, and Thor realizing he is the god of thunder and not the god of hammer was really nice. Um,
Until he unrealized it later.
yeah, um, yeah. Okay, so I guess I will now pass on the mic to Austin if you want to elaborate more on um, Ragnarok before
I
we
love the
give
way you
away our
pronounce it.
score. Ragnarok.
Oh yeah, wait, Cole, did you say? Were you gonna say something?
No, the way I
I know. I was
pronounced
just
it.
saying.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's making
Ragnarok. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean I like it. I like it. I think it's one of the better Thor movies. For me it goes the first Thor and then probably Ragnarok and then the Dark World. I mean I think I understand. I'm not gonna give people shit, who don't like it. It's kind of like people who don't like Gun. These guys they have a certain type of humor. They have a certain thought process for that and everything. And if that's not your thing, then that's subjective and completely fine and everything. But I think for the most part, Ragnarok does the best job of balancing. My guess is probably the Marvel mandated humor of Thor and like the fact that yeah, he's a powerful god. There's a lot of things to that. Like he's not just some guy with a hammer. This guy can destroy. He's powerful, and so like I think Hela was a great villain. I think that's probably the highlight of the movie. Hela she was scary, she was menacing. She had consequence. She literally destroys Asgard. And she comes there with that intention. Like she's actually a villain. That's worthy. I think of the MCU and of a character like Thor and all these other guys. I think they did a good job with the Loki relationship in that movie of kind of mending it, in a way that was still, uh, that was believable. I think for you had a lot of stuff with the father. Now I know somebody I forgot who mentioned that. You would have rather seen the dad Odin be so bad and all that type of stuff. And like we've kind of seen that throughout all the Thor movies. Like they've never shown Odin as to be this like perfect figure. Even the first Thor, he stole Loki as a child, did all these other things. He is not the greatest dad in the world. And so this just kind of elaborates, I think, on that and stuff. And I did think some of the little Valkyrie scene and a lot of the visuals were really cool and stuff. But yeah, I feel like a lot of my complaints with it are more nitpicks, personal things I didn't like about the humor and other things like that. And not really, it's the better Thor movie for sure in that time and stuff. And so, and it was like Chill said, it was a great setup for Infinity War. It was a great setup for even Loki in the future. They set a lot of things up in that one movie that you kind of, when you think about it now in the long term and where they are now, yeah, they definitely they had intentions and plans from Thor Ragnarok into Infinity War into Endgame and all those others. But yeah, it was
It's
good.
interesting that they lost in Ragnarok, and like that was the first ever the heroes lost. They survived skin of their teeth, not knowing what's coming in Infinity War. But I can't recall another movie in Marvel, and this was movie number 17
Yeah,
that had this happen.
I think it's more like 18 at that point. I think, but yeah,
I promise you, it's
yeah.
17, and if we stopped and counted, it would be 17.
Oh, you're right. Maybe. I don't know. Actually,
You said maybe. Oh, we got to stop the whole stream, everybody. How dare you
Stop the
question-
count.
Now I'm curious. I want to see the true answer. I think you're right. I think I'm wrong. That's
You-
interesting.
You're gonna count like Hulk from 2003 because unofficial. All right, here. In
Okay,
phase
okay.
1, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Receipt.
6,
Receipt.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. What number did I say? Did I say 17 or 18?
You said 17.
It's
You're right.
17.
Yeah. I was counting the amazing one and the Raimi ones because of No Way Home, but you're right.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
okay,
messed
all
up.
right, gosh.
But even there, I'm so far off the mark. So even there, you won. Nice receipt. Now, I gotta address the big meme around where Ella is beating the crap out of Thor, but then Sutur shows up and beats her. Like it's been meme around like Thor is able to beat Sutur, but he cannot beat Ella, but Sutur can beat Ella. I don't know if any of you have seen that meme floating around somewhere, or if you guys knows what meme I refer to. Okay, so maybe it's just on my corner of the internet, but that was a meme. So I guess that will stop the discussion there on that meme because I'm the only one that has seen it. So I will ask the panel, starting with Austin, what would be your grade out of 10 for Ragnarok?
My grade for Ragnarok, I'd say it's a 6 out of 10.
Okay. What about you, Paul?
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay. And what about you, Bradley?
2.
Okay. A 2. Wow, that's interesting. When it comes to me, it's a 7.5 out of 10. For me, that's like good. That's just good because my average is 7 because I have these high standards, you know. So for me, it's just good.
I did forget. I'd like to change mine to 6.5. It gets the 0.5 because I still think it's absolutely hilarious. The whole Hulk, I'm a hero moment to Valkyrie. Like, now you're gonna find out who I really am, and then he just slaps on the ground dead. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. So that gets us that brings it up to 6.5 for me.
And since you brought Valkyrie, I thought she was really cool. I think she was my favorite supporting character in the MCU thus far, I think.
Yeah, she just did not give a fuck most of the movie, which I think was a lot of Marvel people.
That was her charm.
It kind of was, yeah.
And that was her character art, like actually giving a fuck. So Cole, if he is back, he will unmute himself, or maybe he's not, and he's still grabbing a drink. So I will kind of say,
Cole is grabbing a drink, yeah, but it's he.
Yeah. So because he is away, he sent us his grade. This is a 6 out of 10 for him. And what about you, Chillmonger?
9.
Oh, I get that feeling. I can't see why. I can't see it 100%. So that was
a regular 9 chill or a German 9?
This was a German one.
Okay, good.
Oh, Cole's back. Welcome back.
Sure, sorry.
So,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if any of you would like to add more to Ragnarok before we move on to Black Panther.
I'm personally good, but
Okay, well, this shall be the start of Black Panther, and I will let Austin talk first because we kind of know he has more limited time than others maybe. So Austin, what did you think of Black Panther?
Okay, so I really enjoyed Black Panther when it came out. There were a lot of things I liked about it. don't think it's a perfect movie in any sense, and it's I get why it got all the Oscar nominations and all that type of thing, and all that. I think as far as a movie goes, it was pretty good. I like that it addresses a lot of stuff in the culture, in the African American culture that to be honest, I did not expect it to address. And so I think for the most part, I really enjoyed Black Panther. I think it was besides the visuals, the visuals were a little wonky, especially at the end there. And that car chase scene, in the middle of it was a little wonky with the visuals. That was like the first one, but other than that, I mean, yeah, I really liked it. Obviously, Michael B. Jordan was a highlight. He was phenomenal as the villain. That was another one where it's like we're getting two great Marvel villains in a row and stuff. And I do agree with what Paul said earlier in the chat. Then they killed him, but but yeah, no. I think overall it was a really well done movie. It's a really good story. I think a lot of people, connected to it and stuff, which is great. But yeah, I don't have many problems. I don't think it's an Oscar worthy film. I don't think it's like, the best Marvel movie ever. But I think it's, at the time it was kind of like it was pretty rare for me to like see a Marvel movie that I thought was like poorly made and just not well done and didn't at least give it a try besides like maybe the second Ant-Man and Dark World and a few others. But I mean, this was kind of a high time for Marvel. So Black Panther, Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War afterwards. I think probably Homecoming was somewhere in the middle of that too. Like, yeah, Marvel was just making good stuff. So yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Do you want to add more before we pass on the mic to someone else?
I don't think so. No, I'm good.
Okay. I will ask Paul, what did you think of Black Panther?
Yeah, I got a lot of thoughts on this film. I think that coming off the back of Civil War, we saw a better Black Panther in Civil War. I think I'll say when your villain outshines your protagonist, both in you're rooting for the villain, you're like, I understand the villain, and the protagonist doesn't really have much to do except copy the storyline of Lion King. It kind of just really takes away from the film to me. The lackluster special effects, particularly towards the end of this film, looking like a PS2, like a fighting game, very disappointing for the MCU. Up until this point, they had good special effects. This is the first film, I think, where they started to cut on that because they started to make these movies en masse. And I think it's a shame. It's a shame that they kind of like decided with this film to do that. I think that it is criminally overrated as an MCU film, but also as a film in general. I think that the cinematography needs work. I think T'Challa, for the most part, doesn't really have much to do in this film. He's always reacting to something that Killmonger's doing. And I don't think he's well written. Whereas in Civil War, if we look at that, he's the star of that. In my opinion, he's one of the three stars of that film. Like Tony and Cap, sure, but like he has a massive arc in that film, a through line in that movie all the way to the end. And in this movie, he's Simba. And it feels like a ripoff of Lion King in a lot of ways. There are some good themes in it. I do like when he goes to the spirit realm and talks to his father, and he calls his father a xenophobic person. I think that there is hope for Wakanda after this movie because they're a xenophobic nation. They kill each other to become kings. There's a lot of like, this is the perfect society crap that came out of this film. I'm going to go hard right now. There's a lot of perfect society crap that came out of this film. And I'm like, literally, it's a misogynistic led society where they kill each other in trial and combat to become kings, which is what happens. Why Killmonger becomes the king, even though he's not the rightful heir. They kill, like his father kills his uncle at the start of the movie for giving weapons outside of it because they're xenophobic. They watched the rest of Africa go into slavery and sat there watching that happen. They somehow mined unbreakable ore out of the ground with pre-Stone Age tools. Like there's just a lot of exposition at the start of this film, and you're just supposed to believe it because it's magic. Sure, I'll give it that. You can do that. But my main issues with it, like that's the overrating of this film that I watched happen on Twitter and other things at the time when they're like, it's the perfect society. That's my criticism of that. But if I talk about the movie itself, my main issues with it, T'Challa doesn't have much to do in it. Killmonger is the star of this movie. It should be called Killmonger. And in my opinion, what's his name? The guy that plays Golem, and
Claw?
Caesar.
Andy Serkis.
Yeah, Andy Serkis is even better, even acting around T'Challa in this film. And it's not his fault because he's a great actor, right? He was a great actor. Like the issue is that he didn't have anything to do in this script. His acting is so much given so much more weight in Civil War compared to this film. And it's really and you can do that comparison because Civil War was right before this film, right? And I was hyped for Black Panther. Like I said earlier in the stream, I was hyped for this movie because Civil War gave us a really cool Black Panther. But then the fight scenes were let down. The special effects were let down. The storyline was a letdown. It was just a rip job of Lion King. Anybody that says other than that is lying to themselves and practicing cognitive dissonance because it's almost par for par a Lion King story. And I feel like it was hype beast. That's fair enough. We all know why it was hype beast. We all know why this was hyped up. I feel like as a fan of Black Panther to a degree, and definitely MCU Black Panther from Civil War, I feel like this movie was a complete letdown when it came to Black Panther, and it was just to uplift Killmonger into a place where people could be like, yeah, I agree with him. We should have given weapons to our ancestors, and stuff like that. And I just feel like that is the issue. Like my main issues with this film is I feel like it's the start of Marvel not spending enough money on its special effects budget.
Here, let me play this just because it's very relevant.
Right.
Our weapons will not be used to wage war on the world. It is not our way to be judge, jury, and executioner for people who are not our own.
Pause.
wrong.
Right there.
I get where you're
that-
getting at.
I'm saying all of Africa was their own, man.
Nope.
But then again,
Nope.
But
You're applying something that doesn't exist to the Wakandans. 10,000 years ago, there was about 5 tribes that did this to each other, and they said, whatever happens outside of there, all right. So they're legitimately honoring the borders that they've created, never interfering in toppling world governments.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you are the country next door over or if you are across the ocean from us. You're them and we're us. When Killmonger says to him, "Oh, aren't all people our own?" What? Based off of a physical trait? That's your guys' logic because that's you guys who are on the outside of Wakanda. That's the world you've experienced, and that's why you think that way. We, the Wakandans, who've never been colonized, never been conquered, or do the conquering, because we're not the judge or jury or executioner, we're right. And we set these rules down. He did everything that you're complaining about how it's Killmonger's movie. That's T'Challa putting his foot down.
Yeah, and I will add more to this because I think
Yeah, I agree.
you brought very interesting point, and the clip you shown to us is the perfect reflection of I do think is the team and why Killmonger sorry, I mixed up things. Killmonger is the villain of that movie. It's because he goes against tradition. He wants change on a very traditional group. He wants to change them because he doesn't like their ways. The own ways are bad for him. He wants to burn the old ways. And this is a conflict there where T'Challa is conservative, if we can call it that way, and Killmonger is basically the crazy progressive that wants to burn everything down.
He's a crazy progressive.
That wants to burn everything down. I gotta like.
No, he's an
specify.
American who's
No,
applying
yeah,
American logic
yeah,
to a
yeah.
Wakandan.
I was going to say
Yeah.
that I feel this is the issue, is that T'Challa's is preaching rhetoric of xenophobia, which his father and his father before him and his father before him and his father, and all the way back to the beginning of Wakanda, they all were xenophobic. Like Chillmonger, they made that agreement, but they made an agreement to be xenophobic.
Right.
And so he's preaching that rhetoric, which is wrong, and he learns that's wrong, right? Because of what Killmonger actually teaches him, that's wrong. Because he learns it's wrong, because at the end of the movie, he's like, we're going to open our borders and we're going to start helping people in the world with our technology.
Okay,
so he
hold
learns
on.
that's wrong. But Killmonger, I gotta finish it, Chill. Killmonger's perspective is exactly what Chill just said. It's the African American perspective of, well, we were made slaves and you didn't help us. Like that's his perspective. He's like, we were made slaves, and now I want to take revenge on people that had nothing to do with that, right? Much like another movement, like, and they're like, let's take revenge on people that had nothing to do with that because their ancestors enslaved us, and I want to use your technology to do it. That's the two, in my view, that's the two perspectives that we're having there in that conversation between them two. Because what does Killmonger do as soon as he has the Black Panther crown? He starts weaponizing Wakanda, like to go after. I'm not going to say the word, but go after the people that he wanted to go after. Yeah.
Wait, sorry, there's an ad. It says, so I agreed with you, but I want to disagree now, because I used xenophobia as an aversion or hostility to, or disdain for, or fear of foreigners, people from different cultures, or strangers.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say, huh?
They do. They fear foreigners, man.
I never got that they feared them.
In
or
that
they were
movie, they
afraid of
literally are
them.
like talking about, we don't want them to take our weapons. They need to get all of the vibranium back. Like they're like, we don't want that to fall on other people's hands. We need to have that technology to ourselves. They have a giant shield that cloaks them. Chill. They are afraid of the outside
It's not
world.
fear. No. You're giving the wrong emotion. We disagree on what the emotion is. You think that they think of them as fearful. I think the Wakandans view them as, oh, historically, this is how you people act. Why the hell would we allow outsiders to have this? We know what comes after it. And I've read comics. I guess I can't use comics because those are in the movie. Within the movie, we've seen how people have acted.
It's not. I agree. It's not fear. It's common sense. Looking at the history, you're going, well, exactly. Why would we've established something here? Why would we have you guys that have historically shown to ruin things come and ruin it? You know. But that's what I liked about the movie, is that it's that address of like, okay, so this culture had that, kind of society that they worked on and spent, and then you had Killmonger's character who was on the outside looking in, and it's like I said, I didn't think they would find a way to address it that they did in the movie, because that's a lot of what was happening, I think, culturally at the time as well, and continued to happen throughout the years afterwards. There's a disconnect, even like you said, but like, yes, same thing with Mexicans and all these other different races and all that. We all kill each other. We all have our own faction, all these types of things and stuff. It's about, how do we deal with it? How do we talk about it? How do we approach it? And what's right and what's wrong? At the end of the day, T'Challa is going, we're doesn't matter what's been done to, us as a people or whatever, or blah, blah, blah.
You crossed that border pretty quickly to Mexicans. Eh?
But yeah, it doesn't matter what's been done. We're going to take the lead on that. We're going to show the world we're the leaders. We're not going to be like you guys. We're not going to act like we're owed anything or done it. We're just going to get involved and start doing the right thing.
And we'll make Mexico pay for it.
Exactly. Goddamn Mexicans. Put that wall up, for the love of God. Sick and tired of seeing those guys.
Oh my. I'm dying. I feel like now we turned into Joker's Corner Discord. server
By the way, if
talk.
any of you guys need any yards cleaned, I'm available for the next week at a discounted rate.
Dying.
How many pesos?
It's the Memorial Week special.
I lost track of what's going on now. That's amazing. I like this talk. That's wow.
I was reviewing the movie. That was where we were at.
So, Paul, I think you were the one that was basically sharing your thoughts on Black Panther. I think. Am I right on that?
Yes, yeah.
Do you want to add more to what you already said?
I think I've covered my major gripes of this film. Outside the cultural crap that happened around this film, and it is crap. It is absolute crap. A movie changing society is shit. And look at it; it hasn't changed anything. That's the evidence of that. Look at where we are now; didn't change a goddamn thing. But
it's
like,
more so just inspired a lot of people.
Yeah, and like, so the hype around this movie was crap. All of the internet stuff around it was crap. If we judge this movie based on a movie and based on like movie quality, we have huge issues with it. It has huge story issues. It has huge special effects issues. It has huge direction issues. It huge protagonist issues. I think this movie is like, if we're talking overrated, underrated, like, I feel like this movie is hype beasted overrated. Like, it's one of the, if not the most overrated MCU film of all time. And if we look at it just as a movie, as a basic movie, it has major flaws. And I think that those flaws really resonate in the third act. There's some atrocious, like, ever remember the rhino charging scene? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. There's some major issues in this film with the special effects at the end of this film. To get Oscar buzz around this film is part of that internet hype beast crap. To get nominated for Best Picture when you have that special effects, those kinds of special effects issues in your movie, it proves this movie is overrated. Proves it. Like, it's literally proven. And it kind of angers me because that popped out a slot that another film could have been there instead. But they were like, no, it's a cultural phenomenon. We've got to hype beast this shit up. And it's like, it's not good. It's a mid MCU film. It's not anywhere near the top tier. It's probably not in the top 10 movies of the MCU. Just because it made $2 billion doesn't make it a top tier movie. And as I'm reminded often by Bradley, box office does not equal good films. But that's what I have to say about this film. I think it's completely overrated, and I think it has major issues across the board. That's my thoughts on Black Panther.
I think you would have had like a 10-minute shorter explanation if the Academy Awards didn't nominate it for Best Picture, which I agree with you, because it's not like they gave Michael B the Best Actor award. It's not like they got adapted screenplay, like it was up for one of those. But you know what? Best Picture. Yeah, I'm with you. But I'm not with you with a lot of other things. The cultural impact. How do you measure inspiration? How do you measure the outcome of what this is?
Because, Chill, what has changed in America?
Oh, I can tell you that okay, so you're looking for, what are you looking for? What would a good example?
Cultural impact. I'm saying cultural impact here. What's the cultural impact?
This actually gave a lot of other black filmmakers bigger budgets, and a lot of the cast members in this and other.
That's fair. But then we also got Black Little Mermaid, didn't we? Like, we get all the redheads getting replaced. But like, this is what I'm talking about. This is how it's changed movie culture.
That's a different argument right there. You wanted to know what happened. Cole just told you exactly what happened. More opportunities for more people, bigger budgets for films that wouldn't have necessarily gotten it. I mean, I feel like right now what I'm listening to is a Yelp review of McDonald's. What are you expecting? It's a Marvel movie. It's a Marvel movie, and you're complaining about the people that are waiting in line to get a McRib. We all know they're crazy when they talk out of their heads. Uh, going on a rant for 10 minutes about how it wasn't culturally relevant, and where other people are saying it's culturally relevant, is kind of insane. 4 stars, 3 stars for your review. How about that?
Disney, I like you.
That's fine. You can like the movie. That's fine.
I didn't say I like the movie.
But what Cole is arguing is it changed movie culture. I was arguing, which what a lot of people were arguing online, that it was changing culture in America. In America, as in the people of America.
Well, it did inspire a lot of people.
So when I say, when Cole says it gave a lot of other black people other black film artists more, that's a fake history movie.
I thought we didn't stop for all the other ones I'm showing that came after 2018.
But what I'm saying is Cole makes a good argument. That's a good argument. That's a good argument. To no, they actually changed historical facts.
But also I did want to say one other thing.
Yeah, but they didn't have an opportunity to do that.
I just want to address what Cole just said and what Rosales just said. So what Cole said is correct. It changed movie culture, but I wasn't addressing movie culture. I was addressing the crap that was going on, where I was saying that black culture was going to change, that it was going to change America. And my argument to that is, look at America now. Look at it. Went from when Black Panther came out, and look at all that's happened. Has it changed anything in the socialization of America?
From a film? Why would you expect that from anything?
Because Rosale,
Schindler's List didn't even change anything.
Did you hear what I said? I said a lot of people online were saying this was going to change culture of America.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of people online.
And what I'm saying is that it didn't change a damn thing. Now, did it change movie culture? Sure. Some better, which we see Chill bringing up, and some worse.
What movie has? That's my question. I mean, if you're going to hold it to a standard that some bozo is talking about, why don't you show me something that has made a change?
I'm saying that it doesn't make change. That's what I'm saying.
No movie does.
But I'm not saying that. Again, you've misinterpreted what I've said. I'm saying a lot of people were saying this is going to make social change, right?
That's like a minority of morons saying
because Cole, that's why it got not. Everyone knows this. That's why it got nominated for Best Picture. Like,
of course,
please let's not have revisionist history here. When this movie came out, people were saying that black culture was going to change in America because of this film. Right now, I'll agree that it changed in the movie. There was so many people were saying this. I don't need naming every single one. Like to pretend that this doesn't happen. I mean, I'm not going to even talk about it even any further, because to pretend that this didn't happen when this movie came out is cognitive dissonance to the maximum level.
The thing is, I didn't hear all that, and it's not like I'm sitting in the, I don't live in a black neighborhood and I don't hang around in black neighborhoods. So maybe I didn't hear it. I don't hang out with a whole lot of people that would be offended by them having something or having a dream. If they want to shoot for the fences, more to them. It doesn't offend me at all.
What's the dream? I'm not saying it's offended.
You just said they said that this movie was going to change the culture. It was going to change America. That's a dream. And that sounds like a dreamer is talking, and in which case you go, well, that's fine. Carl, have a nice day. I'll talk to you later. You don't stand there and argue with it for 20 minutes about how you're wrong and you're an idiot and it's just a film.
Yeah.
Because, that's my point. It's just a film.
I didn't argue with anybody. Again, you're asserting that I've argued with somebody.
I don't think he meant that, but anyway, I think we, should probably.
We can move on. Yeah, cultural impact was the interesting and fiery subtopic to the stream.
Yeah, I will just say I'll probably go for. I'm sure Rosales, Chill, and probably have a lot to say, and I've talked about it before, so I'll be quick with mine. I'll just go quickly to get out of the way. It's a perfectly fine film to me, but really not for more than that, and it's wasted potential to me, especially compared to how they showcased the character in Civil War, which made me more hyped to see the film. Chadwick Boseman, I thought, whether it was the material he was given or his performance itself was kind of generic. full of lots of pointless exposition that led to nothing. The writing is messy, but it does have amazing lines at points, which saddens me that it's mixed in with the rest of it. The cast, despite being full of so much talent, wasn't that great because of how they were written and used and what they had to work with outside of Michael B. Jordan and Lupita Nyong'o. It is kind of just like a copy of The Lion King to an extent. The action scenes aren't very well done at all, especially the climax, which sucks, and with the CGI. The lighting was 50-50. Camera work and cinematography outside of a handful of moments wasn't the best. Wasn't bad either, though, unlike other MCU films. Visual effects are mixed. Production design and CGI with Wakanda itself was great, but the set design elsewhere wasn't very good. I hate how people get stabbed in this and there's no blood, but I guess that's just typical PG MCU stuff. Costume design was fantastic, and that's the one and only Oscar nomination and win I agree with. The musical score was good and better than many other MCU scores, but it also wasn't anything special either. To me, it was just like a typical average or above average MCU score with different instruments added in the background. Sound design had good moments, and then some horrible moments, especially with the rhino scene. And there are so many small nitpicks throughout the entire film I also have, and just wasted opportunities and moments of doing something special and artistic in its filmmaking that's wasted, which separates films like these to higher caliber films, which is why I don't get its Oscar nominees outside of things not related to the film itself, such as how they make these soundproof shoes and then they have scenes of them walking around and it's making footprint noises. So yeah, overall,
too, huh?
Yeah, like overall, it's a solid film, but it's easily like the most overrated. Okay, I don't know if this kid's screaming in the background. Sorry, but anyway, it's easily like the most overrated in the MCU to me, and nothing more than that to me. Also, we'll get to Wakanda forever in the future, but it really felt like because of the Oscar nominees and historical factor to some people with this first one that. And what it meant for people, Chadwick's death and the controversy of not recasting him, that the MCU did then try to like their hardest to make the equivalent of an Oscar caliber movie per se, with identical looking shots and everything in the sequel, almost like James Cameron trying to make some sort of 4-hour masterpiece with Avatar 2. And I thought they completely failed, and that was terrible. But so in comparison to that, this made me enjoy this more. Yeah, I think it's just a solid film, nothing more really. Well, yeah, who else wants to talk next? I guess can go now.
Okay, so I will actually pass the mic to Bradley because I don't know where he sits on the positive or negative. I kind of have an idea about Rosales and Chillmonger, so I will let Bradley go because that's the mystery. So go, mystery guy. Are you there, Bradley?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what did you think of Black Panther?
I'm kind of indifferent with the film. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I don't really get the urge to ever rewatch it necessarily. So it loses a few factors for that. But yeah, like Paul was saying, I get it. I don't necessarily think that counts for all films though, because there's a lot of movies where the villains are more well written than the actual heroes of the film, and it doesn't take away the heroes of the film for me. They both have their own. It just depends on who the hero and the villain is. But I do agree that Chillmonger was or Killmonger. Sorry, I'm just so used to seeing Chill and his beautiful face on the panel. Sorry, but Killmonger is probably the highlight of the film for sure in every way. I didn't hate Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. I think he was more interesting in Civil War, and I was more behind his character in Civil War. And I thought he was more badass in Civil War, to be honest. But yeah, I'm kind of in the middle with it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's kind of mediocre for me. It's not the best written film ever or MCU film ever. I think there's far better. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Black Panther.
Perfect. Now, what is your opinion on Black Panther Chillmonger?
One of the greatest movies that ever happened in the history of cinema. It can't be called overrated if it makes so much money and other people agree. I saw that 30% of the box office I saw that 30% was black, and like the rest of the 70% was from these other ethnic groups. It's universally known. When I went to the movie theater to see this on opening night on Thursday in 3D with the glasses and the big, huge major, I saw a movie I was nervous to see. I wanted it to be so good. I wanted it to not drop the ball. And I was relieved more than I was like happy. Hey, what a kick-ass movie. Like the way I felt after Endgame was just the way I felt after Ragnarok, the way I felt after Avengers 1. It was a different feeling. It was more so relief. Like this couldn't drop the ball because the budget was so big. We'll get off of culture. We did enough culture. Just the movie itself though. The difference between Asgard and Wakanda was addressed. I remember hearing the director say that we needed to have them eating food because that's a world that's lived in that's more like down to earth. You can kind of see it differently when you see people. So that's why they cut away at the market to see them. Now it would have been nice to see more scenes in Wakanda because we kind of just got like the throne and the laboratory, the marketplace, and everything else. I think they were like what indoors on a spaceship or something. Or they were in Korea or in the museum. We could have seen a little bit more of Wakanda. Which I would have liked. But the characters did bring it. The cast did bring it. Even Forrest Whitaker, when the Black Panther power stripped away. That guy did it. Sorry, you hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just dropped my mouse. Lupita Nyong'o was something that is rare, which is a dark-skinned love interest. I don't see that enough. And that was a rare experience to view. And I love that other people are going to see it also. The outcome of that is going to be people of all ethnicities viewing value and beauty in someone with dark skin. That's impactful as hell. And in the movie, she was lovely. She even convinced her man by the end of it to kind of open up and provide more aid, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with Wakanda doing more aid and everything that T'Challa changed his mind to do, so long as he was coming from a position of power. And, he was not being secretive with Wakanda anymore based off of the fights with Killmonger and stuff. That's fine. He still isn't like, okay, open up the borders. People can immigrate here. You get citizenship. He still wasn't too much of a like integrating kind of force, but he was doing things like outreach in Oakland. Remember that building that their uncle died in, that Killmonger's dad died in? It's going to be the first stop for, community outreach. That's important. Like the movie led somewhere and got to that place. The whole movie got to that position where Wakanda opens up. There was a point for every scene. The interactions between the beefs between the main two protagonists and the villain was great. But like Paul was saying, I would have loved to get that Civil War Black Panther, everything that he was in the beginning of that Civil War movie until he forgives Zemo. Everything that Black Panther was a $1.4 billion movie if he would have just been a little bit more aggressive or the personality that he had back then. There still were moments though where he would have. I think Okoye was kind of being a hardball to Everett Ross. Does she speak English? She does when she wants to. And he was kind of like, be nice. We gotta massage him. He was kind of playing that role. And I wish he was more sort of hard ass. And Okoye was more like, you gotta learn. Or Lupita could have been like, I mean, not Lupita. What's her name? Nakia. Could have been more so like, you got to be polite. It's easier to catch a fly with honey than vinegar. I wish it would have been T'Challa being more hard ass. But the world is what I'm open to. Like everyone was doing this thing too. There's a reason why. It's not because of hype. It actually felt like another place. Everyone wanted to freaking visit Wakanda for a reason. And the way that they spoke in Wakanda, how effortlessly Shuri's just like, man, don't scare me like that, colonizer. And she's just going back to her thing. Man, that's such an insult that would work. It fit. Like the language always felt like it fit. And what a hard task to do, to execute a movie where people are going to speak in this accent. We don't watch movies with that accent. Not many of them. There's certainly not $200 million budget films. We don't see that enough. And it felt lived and it felt real. They were supposed to do English accents, and Chadwick Boseman said, no, we can't make that compromise. Everyone needs to sound like they're from South Africa or somewhere in Africa. Last point, it slipped my mind, but if I remember it, I'll bring it back up later on. I loved the movie.
That's good. I also love that movie a lot. So thank you for sharing, man. I'm always very interested because I do think you like Black Panther a lot based on what I've heard from you, and that's amazing to just see a Black Panther fan talking about a Black Panther movie. That's wonderful. Um, Rosales, what were your thoughts on Black Panther?
Well, it's always interesting when a D-list comic book character gets a film, because it opens up the opportunities for all kinds of things to happen, including shenanigans. But for me, it was, and I approached it as such, a comic book movie. So, as far as the score, all for me, traditionally Marvel scores are not memorable. You don't really remember. You might remember the sting for the Avengers, what they call the Avengers theme, da 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 da, but that's about it. You don't know. You don't remember the rest of it. It's not like a Star Wars film. These Marvel movies are not that kind of film. They're not quote unquote cinema. They're not A24 films. So you're going to get these technicalities. You're going to get the bad writing. You're going to get the occasional affordable VFX that was done at the last minute and just chunked into the film. The same thing happened in that Thor movie, but that's a different story for right now. The point is that Black Panther was a secondary character in a lot of titles, um, other people's titles, other groups' titles, before he got his own solo comic book. And that solo comic book made a difference in a lot of people's lives. When you had the first Black woman on a starship in Star Trek, that made a lot of difference in a lot of people's lives. If there is going to be a cultural impact for Black Panther, we're not going to see it right away. This is something that kind of impact takes decades to show up. That's how you wind up with people who say, you know what, I wound up as a NASA technician because of what I saw in Star Trek. Or you see somebody being, I'm now a filmmaker because I saw these women or these people on TV that looked like myself. And that's a wonderful thing, but that doesn't need to be necessarily the end all be all of a film. And with that being said, the film doesn't necessarily have to be a technical marvel to be enjoyable. You look at the movies like, what is that one with the animated character Gru, Despicable Me, that entire franchise? Can't stand it. My kids love it. They make a lot of money. They keep making them over and over and over again. Is it good enough to win an Oscar? No, but it's good enough to make the people who make the movie money. And that is one level of success that you can go by. Another is pure success. But when you look at the first Black Panther film that we're talking about, a lot of the awards that they were nominated for are basically tokens. Okay, they were gifts. Okay, and when these are things that nobody wants to pay reparations. They're just going to give people jobs. That's the way I see it. And if somebody's able to show out because of that, that's fine. But the film itself, it did its job. It told its story, and we moved on. And we were really, really excited about a second feature that was going to bring back the character, and they dropped the ball on that because somebody forgot to tell everybody, oh, I've got cancer. It may take a little long. I may not have as much time.
Don't put that on Chadwick for them doing something that isn't the industry norm. The recast that they did for Thunderbolt Ross for that we're going to see with Balin Skull in Star Wars, it is normal to recast dead.
Absolutely. It is 100% normal to recast. I bring up the two Darrens anytime I have this conversation.
They wanted Shuri to be Black Panther. That's why they didn't recast.
That's where they were going in the first place. They were eventually going to get there. They were going to do their Hawkeye type thing where Shuri does the buddy cop thing with Black Panther, and then she takes over the role, and maybe he has to play stepdad to the quote unquote T'Challa kid or whatever. So, but I mean, that's really why they're going, and that's why they didn't recast. Yes, because Disney has plans. I'm not going to say an agenda. They got plans, and do they stick to their plans? Absolutely. They will not flinch an inch once they've got it. So we're not going to see a new Black Panther unless their wallet is affected by it. But that's a different story again, different topic. I enjoyed it for what it was. Have I seen it again? I'm with Bradley. I haven't seen it again. I saw it the one time. That's really all I needed to see of it.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy the score the second time around.
I am so sorry to interrupt, and that was a beautiful thing. I completely agree, Rosales. But this whole time, I've just wanted to go, Nacho, like Nacho Libre.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sorry I had to let that out.
Nope.
Yeah,
my wife bought this for me at a midget wrestling event and told me if she bought it, I have to wear it. So there you go.
I like it. That's
I
nice.
think you just said
nice.
what might be now two of my favorite words, and I'm gonna find this: midget and wrestling. I very much look forward to this.
Dwarfinators.com. They go on tour,
Oh,
at least in Texas.
You're a good man.
Dwarfinators.com, I believe is the website.
All the matches on the card are midgets. Don't they have like taller guys too?
Yeah, they have like the littlest giant, but he's about my size. He's about 5'5". I am a short. I'm nothing. But when it comes to midget wrestling, I'm a giant. So,
do you want to add more on that, Rosales?
No.
Okay, perfect. Now I'm the last one to go on that one, and I got a lot of things to say because I did like this movie a lot. I still have a few issues because that's how I am when I rewatch stuff. I take some notes. My first issue would be pacing was very slow. Some of the start could have been trimmed down. The 1 to 4 minutes could have been turned into what? Oh, I messed up when I was marking down my notes. So the 2 hour and 4 minutes could have been trimmed down to 1 hour and 50 minutes instead of 2 hour and 4 minutes. So I feel like 15 minutes could have been trimmed down throughout the entire movie.
What are you cutting out?
Like maybe some of the scenes that went on for too long, or I feel like the runtime wasn't really that justified because it's really like The Lion King, basically. I would have trimmed down some of the scenes here and there. I don't have specific detail, but yeah, that's my first issue. I think the runtime is a bit too high. Next up would be plot armor on T'Challa. He was beaten to death, thrown down a cliff, and drowned in water. I know he's the main character, but I mean, so many things happened before he got to the liquid, like there's, okay, whatever. Suspension of disbelief, I guess. The plane couldn't aim when they tried to shoot at T'Challa. So that wasn't the big action piece in the end of the movie. When everything was blowing up, like, I feel like they were shooting, like, not at him. They were, like, shooting on the ground or something. I don't know. The aiming was really terrible. Now, my fourth issue and the last one. Now, this one, maybe guys can debunk it. If so, I will remove it. But I will address it and mention it. So, the random liquid that saved T'Challa. I don't know the name of it. That's why I call it the random liquid. Should have been
heart-shaped herb.
Heart-shaped herb. Okay, the heart-shaped herb should have been introduced prior to the use of it, so it doesn't feel like something the writer pulled out of their butts. Even if it's comic book accurate or headcanon I take from Wakanda, there wasn't a proper setup of it in the movie. I'm wondering if any of you have a counter argument to it.
Yeah, it's set up at the beginning of the movie. They show you when the vibranium hits the earth, it like mutates and makes a flower, like a heart-shaped herb thing, and that's where the Black Panther gets their power. Like,
so you mean it was the first part of the movie, but it wasn't set up?
Don't they
That's
do
yeah.
isn't it like, yeah, don't they do like an animated type
Yeah, that's what I'm
history
saying. It's set up at
with
the start of the
yeah.
film that's
Okay.
where the Black Panthers come from. That's where he gets his power from. Yeah.
So I will remove that issue then.
Well,
That's
maybe you
why
were
I
getting
just
popcorn at the time. You know, if you're coming in late and you got your hot dogs and your popcorn, you're trying to find your seat, you might miss that part.
But didn't you rewatch it right now to before this review?
Yeah, I did 2 weeks ago. But I was kind of distracted a bit, to be honest. A lot was going on when I was rewatching it. But I did think, that's also why I kept that one last, because that one I was like, maybe they can debunk it. And guys did, so I will actually take it out, and that's amazing. That means that movies is higher now. Anyway, now I gotta say I liked it again. The main theme of the movie would be tradition versus change and future. By turning things that symbol the past, the villain was showing that the past must be destroyed and not built above. And I feel like the lesson T'Challa got from these interaction he had is don't spit on the past, but maybe try to change and improve. And this is why in the end he opens his gates and he does change some of his behavior without really turning into bad guys. Um so yeah, I'm a bit distracted right now. But yeah, that's the idea I think of the movie was Wakanda used to take their weapons only as last resort. The villain wanted to break that habit by starting a conflict. Now I gotta say the music and action were great. The car chase was cool, and the actors were all solid and entertaining. The lore and Chala fight for the throne were all very fun, solid MCU flick that didn't need too many cameos. I feel like it was really condensed um to Wakanda. And now I just read out the Austin. Thank you, Austin, a lot. You are great. Um, so we will keep that in mind, and once we get to the grade, we will share it with everyone. So that's so amazing. So again, I like that movie a lot, and I'm glad guys found a counter argument. So now it's officially like I think my sixth favorite MCU based on what I see so far. Yeah, that's so far in the MCU. It's actually seventh, right underneath First Avenger, Captain America. I like Captain America, First Avenger a bit more, but yeah, I'm all in for that movie, and I I see why people would be like, oh, it's overrated, but I disagree. But I could see why people would think that. And um I like to forget Wakanda forever exists. That's all I gotta say. That movie doesn't exist. Once we address it again, I swear, hopefully we get a bunch of guests around once we get there. But I'm not rewatching that MCU flick. I think that's like one of the few MCU flick I don't want to ever rewatch because god damn, that was terrible. Um, but yeah, I like Black Panther, and I'm glad it came out right there at that point in time. And the reason is if it came out just like a year or 2 year after, like if it came out after Captain Marvel, trust me, the anti SGW and that crowd would have dunked on it and shit on it all over the place, and it would have ruined the experience for everyone, I think. And a lot of people would be like, oh, I don't want to see that movie because of these people hating on that movie. So I'm glad that movie came out before all of the shitstorm we got.
No, Last Jedi happened in December of 2017, and this was in February, just 2-3 months after.
Yeah, but at that point that was still early in the movement. Like I think it got like a lot of strength and heat with Captain Marvel because that was the first time they really attacked on Marvel. And they did that stupid complaint about Endgame, but I feel like they didn't really shit too much on Endgame, because again, that was the start of their stupid nonsensical movement. So I'm glad Black Panther came out in 2018 and not like 2019 or 2020. It was the perfect place in the universe, in our real world. Now I will ask the panel, Paul, what would be your grade out of 10 for Black Panther?
Yeah, it's a 5 out of. Is it out of 10? 1 out of 10?
Yeah, out of
Yeah,
10.
it's a 5. It's a 5 out of 10. It's not the worst MCU movie. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It's just really middle of the line for me. I think that's where, like I said in my review, I think it's like where Marvel started doing their middle of the line movies. Yeah.
Did you laugh when he kicks the suit and she said, "I'm going to record you kicking the suit again," and then there was pushback on the kinetic energy? Do you laugh at that point?
No. And I think my disdain for that character started in that film. I hate Shuri. I hate that character with all of my heart and soul. She is one of the most unfunniest, unlikable characters. And then they made her
kind of
Black
the
Panther.
opposite, though. I actually like the character. I just hate the actress.
Wow. Well, I don't have anything personally against her. I just don't like the characterization of that woman.
I don't either.
or
She's
that
just a
girl.
bad actress.
Yeah.
She's been good
Yeah.
in like one thing, and that was that Steve McQueen film, Man Groove.
I have not chuckled. I didn't chuckle during that movie. No, I didn't. The comedy didn't hit for me in that film. Chill to yeah. The what are those joke? The Gen Z jokes did not hit. No. Yeah.
Remember when Ulysses Klaue shot one of those museum workers, and then they're like, "Why didn't you just shoot him right there?" Well, we got to make it look scattered so we look like amateurs. You didn't think that was funny when he just told the guy, "You can run. Don't worry, you're safe." What about the colonizer joke?
I think all of the joke
Was that a
blended for
joke?
me
Was that a
in
joke?
that
I
one.
thought he was serious when he said
It
like,
was
these
funny
are-
to the audience, but yeah, she meant it. She was
right,
she was in
yeah,
serious mode.
Yeah, she
That's
was-
why I liked it. It's like she really believed in it.
Well, what about when Killmonger said, "Hey, auntie"?
Bro, you make me love this movie even more. I like it. This movie is good. So Cole, what would be your grade out of 10?
Quality wise, it's like a 5 or a 6 for me, and overall, I can't really decide. I guess I'll give it like a 5.5. I guess. And I can understand if you like it personally more and it means more to you, then give it a higher score. I can see that, but yeah.
What about you, Rosales? What would be your score out of 10?
7 out of 10 would be my score for the film. In that sense, me and Paul are the same. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. It's kind of a middle of the road movie. I think it did what it was supposed to do, and it was what it was supposed to be. So, that's a success to me.
Yeah, to me as well. I'm on board with that. Bradley, what would be your score out of 10 for Black Panther?
Yeah, I'll probably go with Paul, like around a 5 or 6, probably. Not very forgettable, not really rewatchable, but still decent film with a great soundtrack. I think the soundtrack's probably the best part, and Killmonger. But yeah, great soundtrack, by the way. I love that fucking soundtrack. It's amazing, and it's still a hit, still bops.
And looking back, I gotta say, I do think Killmonger is probably my favorite villain we had thus far, because he worked so well with the main character. I just thought it was well made, and I forgot to mention it in my comment because that's just me thinking back and reflecting back. Now, Austin's score, our guest we had a few seconds earlier, was a 7 out of 10. My score was a 9 out of 10. And what about you, Chillmonger? What would be your score?
I'll match you. It's the most perfect 9 out of 10 movie. Unfortunately, Kevin Feige, the progressive, had the resources of special effects, VFX, pulled to make it in time for Infinity War. And this was the movie to get the brunt of that treatment. I got issues with the way that they were falling down in that one scene with Killmonger and Black Panther when they fell down on the railroads in the ending. It didn't look the way it deserved to look. That's one of the issues that don't make it be a perfect 10 out of 10 movie. I mean, that's the only one I'm going to give because Paul is listening.
Okay, well,
See, that's why I liked it, because it was a comic book movie looking like a comic book. Comic books are not supposed to be realistic unless you're reading, the Mexican novellas that are talking about heartbreak and romance and murder.
But he looked all right in Korea. It's just it looked weird when they were in the caves in Wakanda.
But yeah, Rosales, because he arrives a bit later, I will ask you before we can start packing up. What was your thought about Ragnarok? Did you like Thor Ragnarok? What did you think of that movie?
I thought it was tiresome. How many times can Thor go through that same development character-wise? He learns how to be a better grown-up Thor in every single film, and starts off at the exact same spot he was. It's kind of like the Roadrunner cartoon, where the coyote just doesn't seem to learn the lesson. And it being a comic book movie, Taika Waititi got with the colors and everything else, got that going. It was nice and bright and shiny. And he got the weirdness with the Jeff Goldblum and the whole area there. He was able to give everybody just a little bitty touch of World War Hulk. And because they can't make a Hulk movie, that's business, that's not artistic creativity, why they did all that stuff. It wasn't the best Thor movie. It's not really the worst.
The worst is coming, right? I haven't seen it, but I've only heard bad stuff.
Yeah. It was colorful. It was shiny. They made him take off his shirt. That's what people paid for. That's what Chillmonger was there to see, is a Thor without the shirt. And so, again, it did what it did, but I was not as satisfied with it as I was with Black Panther. So that's a straight 5 for me.
Okay,
Ragnarok.
a 5. Okay, very interesting. So, this is the time. By the end, I will ask Bradley, what do you have going on your end of the internet?
Nothing much. I mean, I have a new channel that I made, but I'm not really making content right now, but will be soon. But yeah, you can find me there at Compatible Cinema. We'll be doing some like Godzilla stuff probably soon, like a Godzilla ranking probably in June sometime. I'm not sure when, but yeah.
That's exciting. That sounds very fun. Anything else?
No, that's it. I mean, you can find me shit posting on Twitter sometimes at the Bread Factory. But yeah, other than that, that's it. Yeah, and you can find me on the Joker Scorner Discord as well. So
The place. Paul, what do you have going on your end of the internet?
No, I don't really stream anymore or do any things. I'll come on people's channels like yours and talk about movies and stuff. But if you want to find me doing projects, it's glendale.cosplay. I do like little model work. I'm also working on a cosplay for the end of year Comic-Con here in Australia. Yeah, you'll see projects that I'm doing there. I post semi-regularly, and that's what I'm doing at the moment on the internet.
Well, thank you a lot for coming. What about you, Rosales? What do you have going on your end of the internet?
Well, I got a show that happens every Sunday, 9 a.m. Central, and a bunch of different times in your time zone. It's at a different place. But we will be talking about the events and injuries that happened during AEW, possibly WWE's Becky Lynch may or may not sign a contract before Saturday. So if she doesn't re-sign, she will be a free agent by Saturday, which means she could show up anywhere she wants to. But I think maybe she's going to stay home and be with her kid until WWE wises up and gives her as much money as possible. So we'll be talking about those things. We'll be looking at the box office from last week because it was such a terrible, terrible Memorial Day weekend for the box office. We'll be, whatever news comes up, we'll talk about it, whether it's Vince McMahon and his case or the sale of Paramount to Sony or whatever happens to happen this week, we're going to talk about.
That sounds amazing. Really great show. I highly recommend. Sadly, it's too early for me, but hey, things happen. Cool. What do you have going on your end of the internet?
Nothing much. Just on other people's streams mainly. I also have my letterbox, which you link in the description.
Yeah.
That's about it. Yeah, nothing much.
Okay. What about you, Chillmonger? What do you have going on your end of the internet?
I'm going to watch Atlas on Netflix and do a review on that. And comic book wise, Ultimate Black Panther 4 is out.
So Atlas will be something we'll cover eventually. Like I was torn apart. I was like, I don't know if I should add it, but actually I will swap Atlas with another one I had.
Do you really need to watch Atlas? Come on, like I saw it.
Chillmonger has seen it, and that will bring another interesting discussion.
I haven't seen it yet, so I'm gonna watch it. I saw it on a commercial for the NBA, and it looked like a science fiction movie. And I'm like, wow, I guess I got to see this now. And I wouldn't have thought to see it otherwise until that commercial.
It felt like one of those fake movies that you have a commercial for it and during another film. That's what it felt like.
Okay.
So this is called trying to not sell you the movie?
No, J-Lo. Jennifer Lopez.
Yes, amazing actress. Yes, incredible. Yeah.
She's a hustler.
Have fun. Have fun.
And anything else, Chillmonger?
That's it. Atlas, look out for me.
That's amazing. So with that, we are out. Thank you all for coming. That was, I say that very often. I said it like last Friday when we had the Guardian 2 chat, but dang, that one was one of the best stream we had. Thank you to all of you. That was amazing.
Thank you for allowing me